"Get off my porch," I tell her, and the words come out steadier than I feel. The mic squeals. 2 officers are already halfway down the aisle, and Denise is shouting, "You're not even in my HOA, and you ruined everything," while 40 neighbors stare like they just woke up from the same weird dream. And yeah, 5 minutes from now, those cuffs click. But 3 months earlier, she crossed my road in good shoes with banana bread and a smile. Called herself the Community Association president, said. She supports new residents. Slid a leather folder onto my kitchen table. Like a realtor, closing day. Clean logos, color charts, a fee schedule. Mailbox colors. Workshop guidelines. The whole starter pack for people who like rules. And I said, with my best Sunday manners, I appreciate it, but my grandpa Hank bought this place because it wasn't in an association, and she held the smile in place. The way you hold a picture frame straight. Everyone says that at first. I'll bring the incorporation paperwork tomorrow. Nothing strict, just reasonable standards, you know what I mean? And I nodded, because nodding is cheap, while something tight and familiar pulled behind my ribs. That feeling you get when someone thinks you're the easy mark. 2 mornings later, at 6:11 a.m., she pounded hard enough to rattle the porch light, horning. "Evan thought I'd catch you before work," she chirps, lifting a clipboard. Courtesy notice, $400 for unapproved workshop signage. Additional notice, $100 for non-compliant mailbox color. The van graphics are a little bright for our aesthetic. Nothing personal. Clean neighborhood stable. Values you understand. And I'm looking at a sky that's barely turned blue. Thinking, where is this coming from exactly? The property isn't in your HOA. And she's still smiling. We can clear up misunderstandings at the town office. You sign here. I sign here. We're neighbors again. But I was raised by a man who kept receipts in a toolbox. So I went to the county first, and the clerk tapped her screen and didn't even look bored. There is no Maple Ridge Community Association on record. Not in 2020. Not ever. Ask them for an instrument number if they keep talking. And on the drive home, the knot in my chest turned to something colder. I cleaned the workshop to keep my hands from shaking, dragged the bench from the wall, and found a manila envelope taped behind it for Evan when smiles turned to rules. Hank's handwriting careful as always. Inside were photos of Denise on Grandpa's porch at night. Denise at the mailbox. Denise on the sidewalk with a phone pressed tight, plus his note states. Times little lines like, she said her board can compel compliance board doesn't exist. And there were padded estimates from Grant & Sons renovation to elderly neighbors for driveway safety grading and mailbox uniformity numbers that felt like a punch you never see coming. And I swear the room got smaller as I read. Then my phone rang, and the state board told me my electrical license was suspended, pending investigation of complaints mislabeled breakers, unsecured grounds, sloppy conduit. They had photos, they had signatures from concerned residents, and I stared at the little burn scar on my thumb. I've had since high school, and felt my stomach drop through the floor. License means no work. No work means no mortgage. And that night, my wife Riley sat across from me with a hospital mug. She didn't finish. Denise visited the unit. She brought me a latte and asked how I'm holding up. Said men under legal stress can become unpredictable. That maybe I should keep options open for my safety. And I felt the anger hit hard. Then settle. Not hot. Just sharp. She's building a file on me. On us. And Riley says she knew we've been trying for a baby. She knew my schedule. She knew your overtime. I didn't tell her any of that. And a switch flipped in me. People like this survive because we don't compare notes. So I started walking at night. Mailbox to mailbox, you know the drill. Small talk that turns honest. When somebody finally says, yeah, something's off, that's how I caught Caleb next door at 2:07 a.m. On a ladder tucking a tiny camera under my eave, I grabbed the ladder so he wouldn't eat gravel. "What are you doing, man?" And he whispered, "I'm sorry." Like it was a prayer, said Denise casually. Mentioned his 2018 bankruptcy during a wellness check and wondered how the community would react if finances became a topic at the board. Said she suggested he help with safety monitoring to show he's committed. And then he told me about the Johnsons getting letters that hinted at their daughter's academic probation, about Maria Alvarez. Hearing that immigration paperwork can get delayed if the board has to flag instability. None of it direct enough to be blackmail. Just a fog that soaks your lungs until you cough up compliance, and we built a quiet group chat. Called Juniper Coffee. We started collecting screenshots and recordings and notices with the same misspelled line, copied 3 times. We laid phones on cafe tables and let voices float into the mics like they had been doing all along. And every time Denise knocked, I opened the door and played polite, while hitting record not to sting her, just to save my own mind from gaslight. Then the liens showed up. 3 notices taped to my door with neat blue painters. Tape like somebody cares about my paint while stealing my life. Community fees. Safety. Remediation. Driveway. Uniformity. Mailbox. Compliance. 41,000. Untold. With interest that multiplies when you stare at it too long. Each line reference to a contractor assessment from Grant & Sons. And like she was on cue. Denise arrived 30 minutes later with to-go coffees in a folder. Sometimes life chooses for us. Evan, there are good investors who help families transition when legal headwinds make staying impractical. We erase the stress, you start fresh. It's simple. She laid out a sale agreement, an NDA, a clause promising. I'd never speak ill of the association, another page, where I'd sign a glowing testimonial about their professionalism. And I pushed the stack back with 1 finger. I need the incorporation number. Denise. The smile twitched, and she said, "Legal fights get messy, get expensive. It's smarter not to drown for pride." And when she left, I went to Hank's bench and ran a finger over the words he carved years ago. Don't sell freedom. Maybe he meant it as a joke. Self-employed men are like that, but right then, it felt like a hand on my shoulder. I called a real estate attorney named Samuel Ortiz, a calm guy who treats the law like a level sets it down, watches the bubble, asks you to breathe. He flipped through Hank's envelope and my stacks and said, "We'll share this with the county attorney. Filing false liens is a crime, a scheme to obtain. Property is worse. Don't confront her. Let light do the talking." And while he moved paper, the right direction. Riley kept going to that spouse's coffee group with her phone on voice memo one morning. She shook me awake at 5:40 a.m., eyes clear, like she'd slept off a fever. "I'm done letting a neighbor narrate our marriage," she said. Then she hit play. And Denise's voice poured out soft and syrupy. "Financial stress can make men secretive. You should protect yourself, confidential. Professionals exist for hard decisions, and you could hear other women nodding, making their fear sound responsible." Riley paused the audio and said, "We'll use her hubris against her. We met neighbors one by one and compared evidence like puzzle pieces. The same photo of a non-compliant panel reused across addresses with metadata. Cropped a shell LLC for Grant & Sons, registered at a mailbox store next to a nail salon. Texts from a friend of the board hinting at immigration schedules, and we handed copies to Ortiz, and he handed copies to people with badges. And then, Denise made her mistake. Power always trips. When it thinks the room will clap, she called an emergency meeting at the Maple Ridge Recreation Hall. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Folding chairs, projector a screensaver of maple leaves. She took the mic like a CEO at a product launch. Thank you for coming on. Short notice, we've had disruptions. Defiance, individuals who don't share our values tonight. We need strong measures. And I stood. Hands steady. Riley beside me. 6 households behind us. Before measures facts, I said. And Riley hit play. And filled the room with coffee shop recordings of Denise's careful voice escalation. Safety, confidential options, protect yourself. You could feel 40 people realizing the same sentence had been said to each of them in slightly different outfits as then we used the projector right. Lean notices with no instrument number reused photos. The contractor loop traced to that mailbox store, and Denise smiled like she was holding her face on with tape misunderstandings manipulated by unstable individuals. She said, and I laughed. Not cruel, just exhausted, because in the back stood Ortiz, next to a county attorney's deputy. He stepped forward and spoke like a weatherman, and there is no association on record. These liens are fraudulent. Filing. False liens is a crime, and something cracked the mask. The room, I don't know. Denise gripped the mic. Order isn't bad. Standards aren't bad. Without me, it's chaos. Junk cars, patchwork, paint. Fire hazards. She paced behind the folding table like a trapped thing, pointed at me. Your lot ruins. Sight lines, your van, ruins the aesthetic. You refuse to be part of the whole. You are the problem. And someone in the back said, that's not how neighborhoods work. And she yanked the cable. The mic popped and she screamed, get off my road, get off my view. Get out of what I built. You're not even in my HOA and you ruined everything. The deputy moved in with the practiced voice, ma'am. Place your hands behind your back, she kept talking, standards. Beauty, people who don't deserve nice things because they won't follow simple rules. And then the cuffs clicked and the room fell into that clean quiet. You only get after a storm. After that, paper did. What paper does. Charges expanded. My license got reinstated. With a letter that tried to apologize without saying sorry. Grant & Sons lost their registration for a while. The whispering eased people brought a pantry cabinet to the mailboxes and painted it with stars. Nobody argued over the color. No committee needed. The world stayed round, and I wish I could tell you. I felt triumphant, truth is. I felt like I'd been running with a backpack full of rocks, and somebody cut the straps. I still double-check the workshop lock. I still scan the eaves for pinhole lenses. I still hear the way she said safety, like the word could wash anything clean. And a week later, a card showed up in our mailbox. Neighborhood Integrity Coalition on the front and on the back. 3 tiny words. We remember you. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a printer and an attitude. Maybe there are more. Denise's, just quieter, just better. At whispering, maybe I only won, because a dead man left me a packet and a living woman refused to be managed. You tell me, was I right to fight, or did I risk everyone's calm because I hate being told what to do? Where is the line between community standards and control? In a cardigan, what does justice look like when the bully smiles? First, to drop your take in the comments. Tell me your story. Push back on mine if you need to like the video. If you think sunlight still works. Subscribe if you want more from the front porch, where nice gets tested and truth pushes back. And yeah, if someone knocks with banana bread and a clipboard, ask for the instrument number before you slice the loaf.